Today's game is sponsored by Budweiser, the king of beers and proud sponsor of the U.S. Olympic team. For all you do, this Bud's for you. By Dodge, official cars and trucks of the USFL. By McDonald's, sponsors of amateur sports from the neighborhood to the 1984 Olympics. And by Ryder Truck, it's Ryder or it's wrong. Hello again, everybody. I'm Tim Brandt. There have been rumors of a players' strike for the playoffs this week by the newly formed Players Union here in the USFL. It would be catastrophic if it took place. I don't think it will. The teams have been on the field. They have warmed up. There has also been sale talk here. Reportedly, the financially troubled Bill Oldenburg, the owner of the Express, has put his club on the market. That reported by an LA newspaper. Nonetheless, the playoffs are about to begin as scheduled, and we have one of the more interesting matchups taking place today here at the LA Coliseum. The Express, certainly one of the younger teams in the league, against the defending champions of this league, the Michigan Panthers, one of the more experienced. And I think it is also ironic and very interesting how these clubs got here to the playoffs. The scenario begins April 1st. At the time, the Michigan Panthers had won their first 6 games of the season. They were seemingly dominating the league. Everybody was healthy and the club was playing well. While the young Los Angeles Express struggled with just 2 wins in the first 6 weeks, and LA head coach John Hadel came under fire from owner Bill Oldenburg. But then April 1st, roles reversed and misfortune fell on the Panthers. All-pro wide receiver Anthony Carter suffered a severe fracture of his arm. He was lost for the season. That weekend also marked the debut of Steve Young in Los Angeles. And with Young at the helm, LA has doubled its scoring production. The sputtering offense has become more balanced. So look at these numbers. The banged-up Panthers have had 8 All-Pros miss games with injuries. Consequently, they've won only 4 of their final 12 games, while the Express enter as the champions of the Pacific Division. LA has matured, blended together, and getting stronger as the season progressed. I think, Lee Grosscup, it is easy to see why LA would be favored today, and they are the favorites. Michigan's problems have been well documented with the contract disputes, the injuries, with the players like Lacey and Godfrey jumping leagues to the NFL. But my question to you is, should they be heavily favored?
Tim, I think they should be favored, but don't rule out the defending champions. They have won 3 of their last 4 games. They do have the veterans who have the playoff experience, and I don't think that they will panic, and they will probably peak at the right time. However, Los Angeles is very much like Michigan was in 1983. They're a talented young group of players who started slowly, began to gel at midseason, and have peaked late in the year. And I have said recently that I think that they have what it takes to beat anyone in the league.
One of the most intriguing matchups for the fans today has to be the quarterback. It certainly is the most publicized, and we've got 2 good quarterbacks here today.
I think we have the most compelling matchup of the year in Bobby Hebert, the Cinderella quarterback of 1983 on the left, going against the $40 million man, Steve Young, on the right. And Hebert, as we look at him in action right here, has had his problems. You mentioned them. He's playing with an injured knee. He's thrown the interceptions. He's had the sacks. There have been the turnovers. But despite all that, Jim Stanley feels that he is the man to lead them back to the championship game because in addition to the short and intermediate range passes, he has this dimension. He can throw deep, and he has one of the best deep threats in the league right here in number 29, Derek Holloway. So Bobby Hebert, despite all the problems he's had this year, still is the key to their offense. Steve Young is the greatest impact player in the league this season, and I have never seen a player have quite the ability to throw the football, particularly as an intermediate range passer, and also double as a breakaway threat. Now, JoJo Townsell, the receiver there, is going to be one of 2 key receivers, Derek Holloway on the left, Townsell on the right. They are both deep threats, and they have received some double coverage this year, Tim, which I think has curtailed some of their numbers, but I think you'll still see them as the key receivers today.
Let's talk about the running backs for a second. When you look at the rosters, I have to believe that Michigan has the power runners, LA has the speed.
But in John Williams, they have a runner who has both speed and power. Williams had his 2nd best rushing effort ever last week. He rushed for 161 yards. He's one of those durable type backs who can be both an inside-outside runner, a guy that is a good nuts and bolts runner, also a breakaway threat. You look at his numbers at the bottom there, you see that he has rushed for nearly 1,000 yards this season, most of that coming in the second half of the season. LA counters with a trio. Kevin Nelson on the left is the most versatile. Kevin Mack in the middle is the power back. Mel Gray on the right is the quickest. and also the fastest.
Statistically, we have two of the best kickers in the league here today, both of them sidewinders.
Well, in Novo Bojovic, you know that you have one of the most flamboyant kickers in the history of professional football, and because of the fact that he is so incredibly demonstrative, as you see right here, we forget about the fact that fundamentally he is a very sound kicker, both short and long. His counterpart, Tony Zendejas, has come up with some of the biggest kicks in Express history and has 9 straight field goals now, just shy of a record. Ray Bentley is the key linebacker and leading tackler for the Panthers, number 50, as you see coming up to make the tackle right here. And he has been overshadowed at times by John Corker, but is their most consistent player. Howard Carson, the middle linebacker for Los Angeles, is the leading tackler for them. He also has 4 interceptions on the year. And, Tim, he also gives them the extra dimension of leadership and experience in the secondary.
All right, so the teams are on the field. They're being introduced now. They've warmed up. The fans are ready, and so are we. It's L.A. and Michigan coming up right after these messages. So the Michigan Panthers against the Los Angeles Express today, and it is a gorgeous day for football. We've just had the flip of the coin. L.A. has won the toss. Michigan will kick off, and the Express will have the ball first. Gorgeous day. Slight haze, a breeze, 82 degrees, 42% humidity, where there is a little bit of a haze, but here within the walls of the LA Coliseum, simply magnificent. This is some of the things that we'll be looking at. Michigan, Los Angeles, having played already this year. Big day in that ball game, as you can see, for Bobby Hebert. 307 yards passing. And the Panthers beat the Express 24-17. 3 touchdown passes for Bobby Hebert.
And that game, you'll remember, Tim, went right down to the wire. Bobby Hebert was putting it up on the last play of the game.
Novo Bojovic will kick off. The 2 deep men, Tony Bodie, Dwayne Gunn. This is Tony Bodie. The playoffs are underway. Tony Bodie has a hole and takes it all the way out past the 35 to the 38-yard line. Clarence Chapman is the man that made the tackle, but it'll be marvelous field position for Steve Young and the offensive unit of the LA Express. So as you look at the lineup, Steve Young is the starting quarterback. Kevin Nelson, the running back. David Hersey, what they call the H-back. He's a motion man. Malcolm Moore, number 84. JoJo Townsell, the other receiver. And Mike Sherrod is the tight end. Jeff Hart, Mike Durrett, Mike Ruther, Wayne Jones, Gary Zimmerman are the down linemen. A young, talented offensive line for the LA Express. 1st and 10, the ball, the give inside. This is Nelson, big gainer, and boy, he just levels the man in the secondary. Goes Kevin Nelson, and he took Ron Osborne, the safety, with him. Three-four scheme for the Michigan Panthers. John Banaszak, the down man. David Tipton and Alan Hughes. Alan Hughes starting in the place of Larry Bethea. The linebackers, good ones, Cal Borland, Robert Pennywell, Ray Bentley, and John Corker. John Corker has missed the last 3 games with a knee injury. He is playing today, says he is healthy. Vito McKeever replaces Clarence Chapman, who was suspended a couple of games ago. Tom Moriarty, Ron Osborne, and Oliver Davis round out the secondary. It is a 1st down, Los Angeles.
And so Kevin Nelson, Tim, Kevin Nelson picks up the 1st down yardage with that 10-yard carry on the blast play, Tim.
We are just underway at the LA Coliseum. You're looking at a quarterback who has turned this ball club around. We talked about that and documented that in the open. This time there is not much there for Kevin Nelson. The strong, quick, little scat back out of UCLA. David Tipton and Kyle Borland are the men who made the tackle. This defensive unit for the Michigan Panthers has been banged up. It has not played as well as it did last year because of the injuries, because of the changes, and because of the suspensions that the defensive unit has had this year. They have gone to a more basic scheme than they did last year. Last year they played a lot of games up front. They would blitz, they would X, they would play man to one side, zone to the backside. A lot of times that would happen. It has not been the case the last 3 or 4 games. 2nd down, Young throws, incomplete. Intended for JoJo Townsell. And I should tell you that this Michigan team, after that horrendous season in the middle of the season, came back and has now won 3 of its last 4. So they come in with a little bit of momentum.
This ground level look of Steve Young throwing a quick pass to his wide receiver, JoJo Townsell, number 26, who's running a quick post pattern. The coverage there is by Tom Moriarty and Oliver Davis. The ball was very catchable. But remember, when you throw the ball high, when the man is cutting to the inside like that, he is very vulnerable. You want to keep that ball down a little bit. Steve Young's got to lower his sights.
Brings up a 3rd and 9. Malcolm Moore in motion. Shotgun formation for Young. Here comes outside pressure. He throws it across the middle to Tony Bodie. First down, Los Angeles. He has room. Tony Bodie down deep into Michigan territory before Ron Osborne runs him out of bounds. A 20-yard gain.
We were isolated on Tony Bodie, the H-back, number 24, who's in the slot right here. He lets it clear out and then crosses underneath. It's a perfect crisscross pattern there on 3rd and long yardage. The coverage in the secondary, first by Ron Osborne, number 23, and later by McKeever along the sidelines. That's a perfect call on 3rd and long yardage. Steve Young is a quarterback who's noted for coming up with a big play.
John Corker, the man who put pressure that time on Young, but he read it and unloaded quickly, just like this time. 3-step drop. Malcolm Moore cannot hang on to the football. Keep in mind, the winner of this game advances to the Western Conference Championship game.
Malcolm Moore, the most pleasant surprise of training camp, didn't catch many passes at USC. He's running a quick hook pattern along the sidelines. Vito McKeever is right there. Steve Young floated that ball a little bit, Tim. And I think if he had drilled it a little bit more, thrown it a little bit more to the outside and lower with a little bit more zip, it would have been a completion.
2nd down and 10, the ball on the Michigan 30. Tony Bodie in motion. Young, the give inside to Nelson, who has a big hole. Left side to the 20, to the 15-yard line. Oliver Davis makes the tackle, but Kevin Nelson, big gainer. Nelson has 7 touchdowns this year, 828 yards.
Good mixture of plays here. This is a good time to call the draw play after double motion by the H-back, and he slips the ball to Kevin Nelson right here, who had a great career at UCLA. He, of course, being the younger brother of Darren Nelson, a little bit bigger than Darren, a little bit more physical. He has been the most versatile of their running backs this year.
Kevin sat out the first game between these two clubs. That was a 15-yard pickup. He has 26 carries, or 26 yards now on 3 carries. This time, not much there.
Kevin has 828 yards on the year. That's coming into today's game. He is one of 3 backs that they call fullbacks. Obviously, they are not typical fullbacks types, but in this offense, they refer to them as fullbacks.
You know, Cupper, LA is the only USFL team to have 4 different players rush for 100 or more yards in a game.
That because mostly of their quarterback, Steve Young.
Steve Young, Kevin Nelson have done it. Kevin Mack has done it along with Mel Gray. This is 2nd and 9. Young looks across the middle, drops it underneath. That's Scott. Scott down inside the 10 to the 6-yard line. Goes Freddie Scott.
So once again, the Express have good luck with their crossing patterns, this time going to the wide receiver, Freddie Scott, number 87. Scott is coming underneath. He's coming from left to right. After it clears out, it's a bit of a pickoff pattern in the secondary. Scott, an 11-year pro out of Amherst, who is the 4th leading receiver in Detroit Lions history.
262 receptions in his NFL career. Freddie Scott had a touchdown pass against the Michigan Panthers, a 28-yarder, the first time these two clubs played this year. 3rd and 1, off tackle to the right. Nelson tries to cut it back. John Corker makes the tackle. That's Jim Stanley, 2nd year as head coach. You know, he's faced adversity before. Last season, Michigan won only once in its first 7 weeks. He turned it around with 12 wins in the next 14 games and took his team to the first ever USFL title. It is 4th and 1. John Hadel, the head coach of the Express, sends Tony Bodie in. David Hersey comes out. They load up with Malcolm Moore and JoJo Townsell, double receivers, top of the screen. Tony Bodie on the wing in motion. LA going for it on 4th and 1. This is Steve Young. I think he got it.
Good effort there by Steve Young. He appears to have it, but it may require a measurement.
The down lineman on the defense made penetration. John Corker, the outside man on the right side, came in and filled, and he made the tackle. Whether he did it in time, we'll wait for the call. You can hear the response of the crowd at the LA Coliseum. They thought he had made it, but nonetheless, there will be a measurement. Awfully close. He made it by the half a length of the pigskin.
Watch Steve Young behind the blocking of his center and 2 guards here on the quarterback sneak, and also pay attention to number 57, John Corker, who comes from his outside linebacker position to fill on the inside and pushes Steve Young back, but not before he had made the required yardage.
4th first down of this series for the LA Express offense. Darren Long, Mike Sherrod, 2 tight ends. This club does not like to throw inside the 10. That's not to say they won't. This is the pitch back, student body sweep. Touchdown, Los Angeles, goes Kevin Nelson. Wayne Jones through the key block, and Nelson scored.
Good call here. It's the student body left or power pitch led by the pulling guard Wayne Jones out of the University of Utah. That's what shoots Kevin Nelson to the outside, and then it's just a foot race to the corner, and Kevin is there in time. Good call. Excellent mixture of plays on that drive for the Express.
Tony Zendejas for the extra point. Boy, when he kicks it, there's not much question about it. So the Los Angeles Express look impressive with that drive. And they also take the early lead, 7-0. Michigan will have it when we come back.
All you gotta do is smell the coffee, splash on Old Spice. Now you're moving is...
A gorgeous day for football at the LA Coliseum, and the Express have delighted the fans here, scoring on their first possession. The deep men for Michigan, Bobby Futrell, number 20, Albert Bentley, the flyer out of the University of Miami, number 32.
Bentley was sensational as a return man in this game the last time we covered the 2 teams.
Zendejas puts it 2 yards deep in the end zone. This is Bobby Futrell. Bobby Futrell has a funnel on the outside and takes it up to the 28-yard line. Right now, let's go down to our colleague on the sidelines, Ted Dawson.
Thank you, Tim. Kevin Nelson, 6 carries for 32 yards. Did you know coming in that you could run against this team?
Oh, yeah, we thought we could run against them. We want to just get our offensive linemen started, get them, driving them off the ball up front, and we think we can run the ball on them, so we're going to keep trying to do that. And
what about the touchdown, the sweep to the left? You tried all different kinds, up through the middle, and the sweep to the left got the touchdown.
Oh, yeah, well, we were just setting it up, probably, run the ball inside, and then we had a flip outside, which I got in the end zone.
Kevin, congratulations to you. Tim?
All right, Ted. Kevin Nelson, of course, the 4th all-time leading rusher out of UCLA. Futrell's 31-yard return gives Michigan good field position up at the 30-yard line. Bobby Hebert's your quarterback. We set that line up in just a second. This is Big John Williams out of Wisconsin. Williams had 161 yards last week in the final regular season game. The quarterback, the strong-arm Cajun from Cutoff, Louisiana, Bobby Hebert. Ken Lacey is the running back along with John Williams. The wideouts, Derek Holloway, and number 26, Anthony Allen, trying to pick up the slack for Anthony Carter, who's out. Mike Cobb is the tight end. The offensive line, Ray Penny, Jeff Wiska, Wayne Radloff, Tyrone McGriff, Tony Osmond. We should almost also mention that Tom Dornbrook was reactivated, signed a multi-year contract, and he is back in uniform today. We may see him. Williams that close to a first down. Depends where they mark it. The defensive lineup for the Los Angeles Express: Fletcher Jenkins, Georgia Chica, Charles Usry, and Eddie Meat Cleaver Weaver. There are 3 sprained ankles on that down defensive front, but they say they are playing today. It is a money game. The linebackers, Danny Rich, Howard Carson, and David Howard. 3 good ones. Henderson, Drain, Mitchell, and Scott make up the secondary. They have had an outstanding season, especially in the second half when the LA Express have come of age.
That's been one of the keys, the improvement of that defensive secondary, because early on, particularly at the corners, they were suspect.
The LA defense ranks among the leaders in the USFL with 54 sacks, 28 interceptions. It's a big play defense. The numbers on Bobby Hebert. A checkered season this year. We'll talk about that and amplify in just a second. The fake to Lacey. Hebert to throw. Has time. Going deep. Incomplete. He was intended out there for Anthony Allen, number 87. Wyman Henderson, number 22, was with him step for step.
Anthony Allen, who was with the Los Angeles Express earlier this year before being traded to Michigan, is running step for step here with Wyman Henderson, the cornerback. And you couldn't ask for better coverage than that, Tim. He's in perfect position to look back over his shoulder and see both the receiver and the football.
2nd and 10. We mentioned it's been a bittersweet season for Hebert with record-breaking performances, but he's also had the frustration of a nagging knee injury, which Lee Groscup mentioned earlier. Cross-buck trap play. This is Williams, and Williams has a big gainer. Aaron Mitchell had to come out of a safety position to make the tackle. Hebert, 3,758 yards passing this year. That breaks his old record of 3,568 just a year ago.
And he had 24 touchdowns, as we mentioned. Despite all the problems that the Panthers and Hebert had personally, he wound up with some very impressive numbers on the season.
Injured his knee in week number 11. You also saw there that John Williams had a big game last week. He was the USFL Player of the Week. And this is Williams. Williams has a first down, cuts back against the grain to the 43-yard line. So Michigan now rolls into Los Angeles territory.
And this is exactly what the Panthers would like to do, Tim, as we get a ground level look here of John Williams coming in behind his interference. He hesitates just long enough to let it flow in front of him. He gets a good block there from Jeff Wiska, number 72, and then cuts back before he's finally curtailed by a host of tacklers by the Express.
Pickup of 11 on that play. First down, Michigan. Williams now 27 yards on 4 carries. Kerry Miller comes into the ball game now as a running back. Aaron Mitchell fakes the blitz, now drops off back into the secondary. It looks like zone coverage for the Express. It is. Hebert to throw against it, and it's blocked at the line of scrimmage by Weaver.
That's good penetration by Eddie Meat Cleaver Weaver out of the University of Georgia. He played on a national championship team with Herschel Walker. And I think Meat Cleaver is probably the most intimidating member of the front four. Watch him coming from the left of your screen. See right there? No, it's not Meat Cleaver. It's Charles Ussery, number 79. Meat Cleaver, of course, has been one of the intimidators. You have a couple of bookend tackles in Ussery and Achika, both out of USC.
Brings up 2nd and 10 for the Panthers. Long count by Hebert. Give inside is to Cleo Miller, and he is lassoed quickly. That time it was Eddie Weaver. He wrapped his arms, made the penetration, and took Miller down for a loss on the play.
Well, we were talking about Eddie the time before and maybe gave him some credit he didn't deserve. That time he definitely deserves the credit. And as I was saying, he's out of the University of Georgia, where he played for Herschel Walker on a national championship team. He's the strongest member of this team, Tim. Has a bench press of 535 pounds.
Played with Herschel.
Yep.
He might have played for him at times. 3rd and 11, a loss of 1. Terry Miller and Cleo Miller in the ball game now. Broughton in motion. Hebert to throw across the middle, and it's incomplete, intended for Walter Broughton, who's had a rough year. He dropped at least 3 other passes, including a touchdown that could have won the game against Los Angeles the first time these two teams played.
These are the things that have hurt Michigan throughout the season. We talked about the drive killers, the frustrating year that they have had. Walter Broughton on a crossing pattern right there. Now that is truly hitting your man on the numbers. That ball could not have been thrown any better by quarterback Bobby Hebert, but he simply drops the football.
Bobby Hebert 0 for 3 now. Skip Johnson on the punt. Look at his average. It's healthy. His longest 57 yards. This one will hit at the 10, roll inside the 5. It'll be close, and it goes into the end zone for a touchback. It was wanted but couldn't. 45-yard punt. They'll have it 1st and 10 when we come back.
Confident, sure, secure. Sure salutes your hand. You feel...
Jubilation in Tinseltown with the LA Express leading 7-0 over the defending league champion Michigan Panthers. Winner of this game advances to the Western Conference Championship game. That'll be played next week. 6 minutes, 19 seconds, first half. Mel Gray is the running back now, seeing his first action. The swing pass to Gray is number 30. And Gray has a pickup of 8 yards. It'll bring up 2nd and 2. So the Express have been virtually unstoppable. Right now, Ted Dawson has this report.
Thank you very much, Tim. Did you ever wonder how quarterbacks remember all those plays? Well, here at Michigan, Bobby Hebert and Mike Ray have these little play charts. They put them right on their wrist. It's got 84 plays, and then all the plays are called in from the sideline, 1 through 84. That's how they do it, just like that.
Makes it easy, doesn't it?
I never used those for football, but I used them for a few exams.
I bet you did. 2nd and 3. Bet they're here, happy to hear that at the University of Utah. Mel Gray, left side, close to a first down. I think he's got it. It'll be the 5th first down of the day for the LA Express. Robert Pennywell and John Corker take him down across the 30-yard line.
Mel Gray, of course, Tim, is one of 2 outstanding rookie running backs out of the University of Purdue. Eric Jordan of the Oakland Invaders being the other. He was one of the guys who triggered that 7-game win streak for the Invaders after losing 9 straight early on.
Los Angeles 10-8, the youngest team in this league. 42 players on the roster of 50 are either rookies, first or second-year players. Play action. Young to throw. Has a man, and it's complete to David Hersey. Another first down for LA.
David Hersey, the H-back out of the University of Tulsa, has been an effective receiver for them, both short and long throughout the year. Here he's running an intermediate pattern. Steve Young takes his time. The protection is excellent. Hersey breaks to the outside here, looks the ball into his hands, and also is conscious of where his feet are. And this, of course, Tim, is a 2-foot league. Unlike college football, where only 1 foot has to be in bounds for it to be a completion.
Did he have both feet in?
Very much so.
Steve Young, 4 for 6 now, 46 yards. This is first down.
Mel Gray.
They'll give him about 2, maybe 3 yards on the carry. Mel Gray.
Tim,
John Corker made the stop.
we have a good look of Durrett blocking Ray Bentley, one of the players we spotlighted at the top of the show. Look how he sustains the block here. He makes excellent contact initially, and then he takes Bentley about 4 yards further downfield. Boy, they're blowing him out of there.
2nd and 7. Talking to John Hadel and some of the more experienced players at the LA camp yesterday. It's complete across the middle to Darren Long. So another first down for the Express, and right now, you're right, they're just blowing the Michigan Panthers off the field.
Darren Long, the tight end, had the best single season in NCAA history for a tight end in terms of his numbers of receptions. Steve Young takes his time again. Now you see him running a deep hook pattern right in the middle. That's Darren Long out of Cal State Long Beach. His quarterback there, of course, was Todd Dillon, who is now the backup quarterback to Jim Kelly at Houston.
19-yard pickup. Malcolm Moore in motion. First down for the Express. The pitch back to Mel Gray. Nothing there. The point I was going to make is John Hadel and some of the older players were saying that even though they are much younger than the experienced defending champions, if they just maintain what they've learned all year, have technique, stick to the game plan, that they can win. Just don't get flustered. We saw that, of course, on that big block by Durrett.
They are mostly young, but they have a number of veterans who have playoff experience, Tim. And John Hadel himself, of course, is a veteran of many NFL wars. We have been informed that we can look for a bootleg to the left, and of course, no one does that better than Steve Young.
This Los Angeles offensive line has been intact now for the last 15 weeks. Zimmerman, Jones, Ruther, Durrett, and Hart. Young in trouble, but he has that escape dimension. Throws high and incomplete. JoJo Townsell was the intended receiver. Oliver Davis is the man drawing the boos. He was the guy on the coverage.
Maybe Michigan knew it was a bootleg left too, because look how Corker applies the pressure right here to Steve Young. He puts enough heat on Steve that he has to take a deeper drop than he'd like to, throws the ball on the move to Townsell, and Oliver Davis is the man who is on the coverage. See this? See how Corker pressures him, forces him to take a deeper drop? Oliver Davis is probably the best athlete in the secondary with David Greenwood out of there. Some of the fans thought that maybe Corker roughed up Steve Young after he threw the ball.
So it brings up 3rd and 9 with 2:37 remaining in the first quarter from the LA Coliseum. This is the draw to Mel Gray, and Mel Gray has one man to beat on the corner. He has the first down and is run out of bounds at the 24-yard line. Mel Gray.
That forward handoff draw play out of the shotgun has been effective for them in long yardage situations occasionally this season. We've also seen the Denver Gold use this play effectively. Forward handoff right there to Mel Gray, number 30, who takes an inside move first, goes back to the outside, is pursued by Mike Edwards, number 53, and finally run out of bounds along the left sidelines. Jim Stanley played for Bear Bryant at Texas A&M back in the 60s, along with some other great players who we'll talk about later.
First down, Los Angeles going for it all. Incomplete. Knocked down beautifully by Vito McKeever. McKeever's quite a story. He came in and replaced Clarence Chapman after Chapman was suspended for 2 games. He's been playing well ever since.
Another look at the H-back David Hersey, number 81, a talented rookie out of Tulsa. The ball could have been thrown about 3 yards further here and a little bit deeper, and possibly with a softer looping trajectory, which would have given Hersey a chance to run away from Vito McKeever, who was closing in from his safety position.
Second down, we'll look for Mel Gray, the 4'4" sprinter out of Purdue. He was on the track team as a sprinter at Purdue, was tested here as a wide receiver before he became the running back. And this is Gray. Not much. John Banaszak made the penetration and tripped him up.
Tim, it's fun to watch Steve Young go to work, and he's engineered 2 impressive drives so far. I think he's probably the best athlete to ever play the quarterback position at BYU. Of course, they've had some great ones going back to Virgil Carter. Then, of course, there was Gary Scheide. Gifford Nielsen came along. Mark Wilson was next. Jim McMahon followed him. But I think of all of those, that Young is the best athlete to ever play for BYU.
From the 25, a big 3rd and 11 situation out of the shotgun formation. Young with time, has a receiver, and it's intercepted. Intercepted by Ron Osborne, who brings it back to the 22-yard line. So Steve Young, who tried to go to JoJo Townsell. Townsell was open for a split second, but a fine read by Ron Osborne, who came up and made the pickoff.
This is uncharacteristic of Steve Young, who is normally one of the most accurate passers you will see. Now, he doesn't throw this ball in front of the receiver. He throws it behind the receiver, and in perfect position right there is Ron Osborne, number 23. JoJo Townsell was the intended target.
So Michigan dodges a bullet. Ron Osborne makes the big play in the zone defense, and now the Panthers have the football. Well, the Los Angeles Express looked like they were driving for another touchdown before Ron Osborne made that interception. It is his first interception of the year. He had 3 last season. We've got 1 minute, 20 seconds remaining in the first quarter. This is Ken Lacey. Ken Lacey goes around the left side for a gain of 4, maybe 5, before he's knocked out of bounds by Edward Scott. Ken Lacey, of course, has signed the future contract with the Kansas City Chiefs of the National Football League, and that's where he'll play next season.
He was booed at home initially, right after the signing of that contract. But the boos wore off as he began to perform again. He has certainly not had the kind of year he had in 1983, but he's still a talented player out of the University of Tulsa. I covered him there in 1981 in a ball game against Drake, and he was awesome that day. It looked like a track meet.
Well, they've used him differently this year, in all fairness to Ken Lacey. He's the power runner between the tackles. John Williams has picked up the outside responsibility as the speed back. This is Williams on the trap. Cuts against the grain. Has a first down. Looks for a block. Williams, 50. To the 45-yard line in Los Angeles territory.
Out of bounds, the 35-yard line.
Tim, this is vintage Michigan. This is what they do so effectively. Underneath ball handling here. Forward handoff to John Williams. Good block there by Jeff Wiska, number 72. Springs him, but he cuts back across the grain, traverses the field, does a little juke step, limp leg back to the outside, and now it's a foot race with Wyman Henderson, number 22, as he heads back to the right sideline. Let's watch Jeff Wiska's block, number 72, on Howard Carson, number 54, the middle linebacker. Good contact right there, high and hard. That sets it up for Williams to traverse back to the right.
The fake to Williams on first down and the throwback. Oh, my. Here we go. Michigan has a first down. So Ken O'Neill, who was recently signed by the Michigan Panthers and activated, makes the catch. First time we've seen him in a game this year that we've done.
Ken O'Neill is another country heard from. Brand new at the tight end spot. Of course, Mike Cobb has been their starter throughout the season. Finally had that consecutive game streak snapped. Cobb had caught a pass in every game up until a couple of weeks ago. Here, I've always liked this tight end screen, and it's the throwback screen. And if you can remember way back when Y.A. Tittle used to throw this play so effectively, I've always liked the rollout throwback screen.
First down again for Hebert, who this time has time to work and looks deep into the corner. Incomplete. Knocked away nicely by Anthony Allen, or intended rather for Anthony Allen, and knocked away nicely by Wyman Henderson.
Very end of the last play, you can see number 87, Anthony Allen, there, battling with Wyman Henderson, number 22, in the end zone. And the ball is swatted away adroitly there by Wyman Henderson. He one of several talented players out of the University of Nevada, Las Vegas.
So it's 2nd and 10 from the 29 for Bobby Hebert. Looks like a zone defense by Los Angeles. No, it's a man defense, so they throw to the flat to the Iceman, Ken Lacey.
From the ground level, you can see this ball is slightly overthrown. I think it is possibly catchable, but you see Hebert threw this ball just a little bit high. However, I think Lacey should still catch it. I think that Lacey mistimed his jump. If he had just taken 2 more steps, he wouldn't have needed to jump. He misjudged the pass.
Looked like he was looking for the defender to come up and hit him, and he got those alligator arms. He pulled him back in, the very short arms. 3rd and 10 from the 29. Hebert has a man. It's incomplete. It was intended for Ken O'Neill out of Idaho State. 6'1", 219-pounder. Ken O'Neill was sidelined with a knee injury until the 16th game of this year. Played his first game against Oakland. Caught 1 pass there, and we haven't seen him in the games that we've done. He has 1 reception, 16 yards for the year. So Ken O'Neill getting some playing time, and that's the end of the first quarter. Los Angeles leads Michigan 7-0. However, the Panthers have shown signs of life, and the crowd's enjoying it. We are at the Los Angeles Coliseum, and the Coliseum is taking on a new look as they prepare for the 23rd Olympiad, which starts in just a couple of weeks. That one of those statues, the model was Terry Schroeder, who is the captain of the water polo team. Water polo, of course, has a great shot at the gold medal. This is Novo Jovic. From 46 yards, it is long enough, and it's no good. Novo 7 of 9 from that range this year. Now make it 7 of 10, and he is upset.
Novo Bojovic, who is normally very consistent as a long-range kicker, gets the ball. The ball is placed down here. He seems to have plenty of time. And as Tim Brandt told you, it was long enough, but it was wide to the left. He hooked it a little bit. Watch his reaction, and you can tell right about here, he thinks that he has hit it well enough, and then he sees the ball fading to the left, and you see the look of disappointment on his face right there.
He didn't get the best snap out of his center, David Tipton. But Novo Bojovic, who's having a better year than he had last year, better percentage, more points, misses that one. The score remains the same. Novo Bojovic, having missed a 46-yard field goal attempt, hands the ball back over to the LA Express. It's been a balanced attack here. This is Steve Young on the option play. Young picks up 5. Outstanding ball carrier.
Tim, what's interesting here as we look at the bottom line is that Michigan, normally a top time of possession team, was dominated by the Los Angeles Express, particularly that first drive in which Steve Young moved the team down for a touchdown was impressive. So it's 9-17 to 5:43. I think that's going to be important for the Express today because in addition to being a big play team, they have emerged as a good time of possession team here in the latter part of the season.
Pitch back to Nelson. This time they come the right side. There is a flag down. I think that play prior to this one was a broken play.
Yes, it was. I agree with you.
Steve Young has made a tremendous difference on this club. You can just see the way that the club goes about its business on offense. Doubled the point production after the first 6 games. He's played the last 12. They average now 23 points a game. It is a face mask penalty against Michigan.
Face mask, number 52 on the defense. First down.
That's Kyle Borland, who's guilty.
Kyle Borland, the linebacker, grabs number 24, Tony Bodie, right there. Tim, it doesn't take a Phi Beta Kappa to figure this one out.
It's the first penalty of the game. 13:57 remaining in the half. Hersey in motion. Play action. The pass is to Hersey. Hersey can't beat the defender on that side. Now he does on his second effort and picks up the first down. Tremendous effort by Hersey, who beat Vito McKeever. McKeever came up, had the play made. He had Hersey stop and slipped off.
David Hersey, the H-back, is in motion from right to left. Now he slides right up the seam and then cuts to the outside. You see the ball thrown a little bit behind him. Ron Osborne, number 23, the safety man, comes up to there. He gives him a little limp leg, and it's number 36, Vito McKeever, who ultimately knocks him out of bounds along the left sideline.
JoJo Townsell to the top of the screen. Malcolm Moore in motion. First down. Pass is overthrown, intended for Townsell.
It's complete to Whit Taylor. Whit Taylor, number 10, along the sidelines. Watch Steve Young's form here, and maybe we can pick up why he overthrew the ball. He doesn't finish quite enough. He throws the ball with a little bit too much of a loop. However, since the coverage was there along the sideline, it was an opportune misthrow. He's now 6 of 12 in the passing department for 78 yards, and he engineered that touchdown. Those are his numbers on the year right there.
Hersey, the motion man, on 2nd and 10 from the 45. This is Nelson. Nelson cuts back inside, and he pays the price for that decision.
He is a good north and south runner, however, though, Tim. He can juke you, but he can also be a power back for them. And as I said at the top of the show, of the 3 running backs that we talked about, Nelson, Gray, and Mack, I think probably Kevin Nelson is the most versatile, meaning that he can do more things as a runner and as a receiver.
Tony Bodie comes in now as the H-back. He's out of Montana State. Bodie, a role player now. The H-back is more like a tight end. They use him in several different positions. Here they use him as the split-out twin receivers, bottom of the screen. Michigan now in a dime defense, which means 6 defensive backs. Young, 5-step drop, going deep. Incomplete. It was intended for JoJo Townsell. Outstanding coverage out there by Oliver Davis.
Tim, we mentioned that with the absence of David Greenwood, Oliver Davis has emerged as the best athlete in the secondary for Michigan. He has step-for-step coverage right here with JoJo Townsell along the left sideline. Steve Young throws the ball about as far as he can right there, and the ball is up for grabs, and no one comes down with it.
So Jeff Partridge will punt the ball for Los Angeles. He has close to a 40-yard average. His longest 75. Tremendous roll. Going for the sidelines, but it's a short kick. It's taken by Anthony Allen, and there's not much return. I'm not so sure what he tried to do with that punt. It almost looked like he went for the sidelines, missed it, and it was a low punt. It only went 26 yards, and Anthony Allen returned it. So Michigan has good field position.
Only 12 yards of offense in the first quarter. But now early in the second quarter, on this 10-yard touchdown run by Kelvin Bryant, the Stars have gone ahead of New Jersey 7-0. Philly 7, New Jersey nothing. Let's go back to Tim Brandt in L.A.
All right, thank you, Jim Lampley. Here we have Los Angeles leading Michigan 7-0. But the Panthers now have the football back at the 20-yard line. 11 minutes, 50 seconds remaining in the first half of play. This is John Williams. Good pursuit by the L.A. defense. Something the L.A. defense has been doing all afternoon. Running to the football, very active, reading plays extremely well.
Well, we talked about how this young, talented group has gotten better as the year has gone on. We said early in the year we felt the LA Express was somewhat like an all-star team. Having played in all-star games myself, I know how exciting it is when you first get with the new guys, but it takes a while to get the timing and to develop the right chemistry. I think that's happened in the late season and here in the playoffs.
John Williams now has 57 yards and 6 carries. He, by the way, signed a new long-term contract with the Panthers this week. And he, by the way, had a 3-yard loss that time as Fletcher Jenkins, big number 90, came through and penetrated. He had that play read all the way.
Fletcher Jenkins out of the University of Washington is not the flashiest player the Express have, but Tim, he probably has emerged as the most consistent of their down linemen at his defensive left end position. And you see right there getting through a block and coming up to nail John Williams for a loss.
I mentioned Fletcher Jenkins had a sprained ankle. He rested that ankle last week. Injured against Oklahoma. He looks pretty good, pretty quick to hit it today. Third down and 12 for Michigan. The draw play inside. Here's Cleo Miller. Eddie Weaver made the tackle, and what a story he is. Out of the University of Georgia, moved to end after the first 5 games. 12.5 sacks, doing quite a job for that young defensive line of the Express.
And of course, the man he tackled right there was one of the best ground gainers in Cleveland Browns history, Cleo Miller.
Skip Johnston on to do the punting. Dwayne Gunn will let it hit. And it gets in a Los Angeles bounce, and it bounces back up near the 44-yard line. Don Eccles downs it there. So the score remains the same. We've got 9:32 left in the half. 9 minutes, 24 seconds left in the half. Los Angeles has the football, 1st and 10 from the 44-yard line. This is the pitch back to Mel Gray. Mel Gray, speedster out of Purdue, runs into Robert Pennywell. Total mismatch. Pennywell, 225 pounds. Mel Gray, just a little guy, 175 pounds. Right now, let's go down quickly to Ted Dawson.
Thank you very much.